Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership Tips. My name's Dave Miller.
And I'm John Hadley. Dave, finishing off on this theme from Adam Bryant's series in the New York Times that he recently ended. He, is saying how he came up with these three recurring themes he saw from the CEO interviews as to what was common about these CEOs. And so this third one, he said, they share a habit of mind that is best described as applied curiosity. They tend to question everything. They want to know how things work and wonder how they can be made to work better. And then, but the piece that really stood out for me was this last statement. They're curious about people and their backstories.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of power to that. A lot of times there can be a thinking about, somehow business is business and home is home, and you should kind of separate those. And so the backstory isn't important. Is this person doing their work? Are they, and you shouldn't get wrapped up in all this drama that may be affecting it. But I don't think that's necessarily right, because how can you really understand what motivates them if you don't understand their backstory? And you really can get a lot more rapport, a lot more engagement that someone really wants to do their best with you when they feel like you understand them a little better. I think back to my very first company, where there was a CEO. He actually had been a friend of the family. I'd known him before then, but he had nothing to do with, he had retired by the time I got there. But he was someone who everybody in the company, and this was a very big company, felt like he knew them. He would greet them by name. He from the cafeteria worker on up. And people years later still had this really fond memory of him that they did not have of any of the subsequent CEOs of the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of proof out there, evidence out there that the best leaders really seem to know their people.
Mm-hmm.
Look at sports, you can look at the corporate world. That theme carries out because you're trying to move hearts and minds. You're dealing with human beings. You're not dealing with a set of avatars that complete tasks, right?
Right.
Machines. And again, this sounds obvious, but it's easy to, especially if you're a task-driven person, to sometimes miss that. Like, okay, you're dealing with a human being, and maybe what works for one person isn't going to work for another.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reasons, people bring in their own uniqueness to their work, their own backstories, their own baggage, and we all have it. What motivates them? What makes them tick?
And sometimes don't we get hung up in the, well, I understand their style, I understand their personality, so now I know how they tick. So the backstory, the other things are going on, I don't need to pay attention to those.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
look,
mistake.
those tools are great and they're valuable, but human beings tend to be more complex than
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those models, and so they can get you into the right kind of ballpark, but then there's a lot of nuances, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can take two people with very similar styles on a psychometric tool that are very different because of their upbringing, because of the things they've run into in their lives, the way they've responded to those things. There's a lot of variables, right? So again, I don't know if we're saying anything that people don't know, at least in their heads, but how much are you paying attention and how much are you practicing those things?
Yes.
Leadership.
Mm-hmm. So the homework assignment I would have for everyone is think about your teams. Think about, do you really know their backstories? Are you tuned to that? Not that you're going to say, oh, I give this person a pass because they've got difficult things going on in their lives, but that I can empathize, I understand what's going on, and so I can relate to this person better and really work with them on how this means we need to operate to motivate them best and get the best. But think about, is there more you could be doing to really understand your people
Yeah,
and their story?
to get to know your people.
Mm-hmm.
Take them out to lunch. Invite the team over for a party over the holidays, whatever it is.
Right. For that matter, how often are you invited to participate in something outside of work with others and turn it down because you're too busy, you got other things? Those can be some of the most important relationship building things you can do.
Good stuff, John.
So look forward to talking to you all next week.
And until then, be influential.